70,000 Roman soldiers marched into the desert expecting an easy victory. Instead, they found themselves surrounded by heat, thirst, and an enemy they could barely catch. Their commanders controlled one of the most powerful armies on earth. Their empire stretched across continents. Yet for days, tens of thousands of Roman soldiers were reduced to desperate survivors, trapped by a single man who understood the desert better than they ever could. The disaster would become one of the greatest humiliations Rome ever suffered. And it all began with a rebellion that many Roman leaders thought would be crushed in a matter of weeks. By the middle of the 3rd century, the Roman Empire was under enormous pressure. Civil wars erupted regularly. Emperors rose and fell with alarming speed. Foreign enemies attacked the frontiers from every direction. Entire regions questioned whether Rome could still protect them. Among the most dangerous challenges came from the east. There, beyond the Roman frontier, the powerful Sasanian Empire competed for control of the ancient lands of Mesopotamia and Syria. For generations, Rome and Persia had fought over cities, trade routes, and prestige. Neither side could afford to appear weak. In the year 260, Rome suffered one of the greatest shocks in its history. The Roman Emperor Valerian marched east to confront the Persians. Instead, he was defeated and captured alive by the Persian king Shapur I. No Roman emperor had ever fallen into enemy hands like that. The news spread across the empire like a thunderclap. If an emperor could be captured, what did that say about Rome's power? Across the eastern provinces, confidence in Rome began to crack. In the wealthy city of Palmyra, a local ruler named Odenathus stepped forward. Palmyra sat in the Syrian desert, positioned between the Roman and Persian worlds. Its merchants grew rich from trade that crossed vast stretches of harsh terrain. The city's leaders understood the desert in ways few Romans ever could. Odenathus used that knowledge to his advantage. While Rome struggled to recover from disaster, he gathered forces, defended the eastern provinces, and launched successful campaigns against the Persians. In many ways, he became Rome's savior in the east. The emperors desperately needed allies, and Odenathus delivered victories. For a time, the arrangement worked. Palmyra grew stronger. Rome regained some stability, but power often creates new ambitions. When Odenathus was assassinated, leadership passed into the hands of his widow, Queen Zenobia. She was intelligent, ambitious, and determined to preserve Palmyra's growing influence. Under her rule, Palmyra expanded dramatically. Its armies moved into Egypt. They occupied territories across the eastern Mediterranean. Before long, Zenobia controlled a realm that rivaled Rome's authority in the region. Officially, she claimed loyalty to Rome. In practice, she was building an empire of her own. For several years, Roman leaders were too distracted by crises elsewhere to respond. But eventually, a new emperor emerged. His name was Aurelian. Unlike many rulers of the period, Aurelian was a soldier of exceptional ability. He inherited a fractured empire. Breakaway states had appeared in different regions. Enemies threatened multiple frontiers. If Rome was going to survive, he needed to restore unity. One province at a time. One campaign at a time. One victory at a time. Aurelian first secured his position in the west. Then he turned his attention eastward. His target was clear: Zenobia and Palmyra. The campaign began well for Rome. Aurelian advanced into Asia Minor. City after city submitted. Resistance collapsed more quickly than many expected. Palmyra's forces fought hard in several engagements, but Aurelian continued moving forward. The decisive confrontation came near Antioch. There, Roman forces defeated Zenobia's army. Another defeat followed near Emesa. The road to Palmyra now lay open. Zenobia had little choice. She retreated to her capital deep in the Syrian desert. For Aurelian, victory seemed close. Capture the city. End the rebellion. Restore Roman authority. Simple. At least, that was how it looked on a map. The reality was very different. Palmyra was not just another city. It stood amid one of the most unforgiving landscapes in the region. The desert surrounding it could be as dangerous as any army. Supplies became critical. Water became life itself. Every movement depended on careful planning. Yet, Aurelian pressed forward. His army marched across the arid terrain toward Palmyra. Eventually, the city was surrounded. Roman siege operations began. But Zenobia was not finished. She understood that remaining trapped inside the city guaranteed defeat. If Palmyra was going to survive, she needed help. The obvious source was Persia. If she could reach the Sasanian Empire, she might secure reinforcements capable of changing the course of the war. The situation was desperate. Time was running out. At some point during the siege, Zenobia made her move. Mounted on a swift camel, she escaped the city and headed east. Her goal was the Euphrates River and the Persian frontier beyond. When news reached Aurelian, he reacted immediately. Allowing Zenobia to escape could undo everything. The rebellion might continue indefinitely. New armies might appear. Years of war could follow. She had to be stopped. Aurelian ordered a massive pursuit. Roman cavalry raced across the desert. The chase became a contest of endurance, distance, speed, and survival. Zenobia knew the terrain. She moved quickly towards safety. The Romans followed relentlessly. At last, near the Euphrates, Roman horsemen caught up with her. She was captured before she could cross into Persian territory. For Aurelian, it seemed the campaign was finally ending. The rebellion's leader was in Roman hands. Palmyra would surely surrender. But the city had one final surprise. After Zenobia's capture, resistance continued. The defenders refused to give up. The siege dragged on. Roman troops remained deep in hostile territory. Supplies stretched thin. The desert remained an enemy that never rested. And then came the man who would turn Rome's confidence into desperation. His name was Zabdas, one of Palmyra's most capable military commanders. Long experienced in desert warfare, he understood something that many Roman officers never fully grasped. Victory was not always achieved through direct battle. Sometimes the environment itself could become a weapon. Rather than seeking a grand confrontation against Rome's disciplined legions, Palmyrene forces attacked supply lines. They harassed detachments. They appeared suddenly and disappeared just as quickly. They exploited every weakness the desert offered. Roman troops found themselves chasing enemies they could rarely pin down. Water sources became vulnerable. Food supplies became uncertain. Every mile traveled consumed precious resources. Soon, the situation became increasingly dangerous. Aurelian's army was enormous, tens of thousands of men. Perhaps as many as 70,000 when support personnel and accompanying forces were included. Feeding such a force under ideal conditions was difficult. Doing so in the Syrian desert was a nightmare. Zabdas understood this perfectly. The Romans began finding themselves pulled farther from reliable supplies. Every pursuit risked exhaustion. Every delay increased shortages. The desert sun punished men and animals alike. Heat drained strength. Dust filled lungs. Water disappeared rapidly. The enemy seemed everywhere, and nowhere at the same time. What made the situation especially humiliating was that Rome remained overwhelmingly stronger on paper. The legions were better equipped, their numbers were greater, their reputation was unmatched. Yet none of that mattered if they could not force a decisive battle. An army cannot eat reputation. It cannot drink prestige. It cannot march without water. As conditions worsened, Roman soldiers faced a growing fear. Not defeat in battle, survival. The possibility of being stranded in hostile territory haunted the army. The desert offered no mercy. Men weakened quickly. Animals collapsed. Supply wagons struggled to keep pace. The campaign that had begun as a demonstration of Roman power now threatened to become a disaster. All because one commander understood exactly where Rome was vulnerable. Zabdas had effectively trapped a massive Roman force inside an environment working against it every hour of every day. The Romans were not surrounded by walls. They were surrounded by distance, thirst, and uncertainty. For a time, the situation became so severe that Aurelian faced the possibility that his campaign could unravel. The emperor needed a solution, and he needed it fast. Fortunately for Rome, Aurelian possessed the quality that had brought him this far: adaptability. Rather than allowing himself to be drawn deeper into a destructive cycle of pursuit, he reorganized operations. Supply lines received greater protection. Roman forces concentrated their efforts. The emperor avoided unnecessary risks. Gradually, the balance shifted. The advantages enjoyed by Palmyra's defenders began to diminish. Without external support, their position grew weaker. Zenobia remained a prisoner. The city stood isolated. Eventually, Palmyra surrendered. Aurelian entered the city victorious. The rebellion that had threatened Rome's eastern provinces was over. For the moment, the emperor showed restraint at first. Palmyra was spared widespread destruction. Its importance as a commercial center remained valuable. But the story did not end there. The following year, another uprising erupted. Whether fueled by lingering resistance or hopes of renewed independence, Palmyra once again challenged Roman authority. This time, Aurelian responded differently. The city was recaptured. Its power was broken permanently. The great commercial center that had once dominated desert trade routes never fully recovered. Its brief empire disappeared into history. For Rome, the victory restored control over the east. Aurelian continued his campaigns elsewhere and eventually reunited much of the fractured empire. His achievements earned him a place among Rome's greatest emperors. Yet the campaign against Palmyra revealed an uncomfortable truth. Even the strongest empire in the world could be brought to the edge of disaster. Not always by a larger army. Not always by a more powerful kingdom. Sometimes by a commander who understood the terrain better than his enemy. The image of 70,000 Romans struggling across the desert serves as a reminder that military strength alone does not guarantee success. Empires depend on supplies, on logistics, on adaptation, on understanding the land they fight upon. For a brief and dangerous moment, one man turned the desert itself into a weapon. And one of the greatest armies in history discovered that there are some enemies a sword cannot easily defeat.